Good morning, everyone. This is Shannon Wetzel from American Foundry Society. Welcome to today's webinar, Elevating Workplace Safety with 5S. This will be presented by Glenn Huneycutt. Before we begin, just a few points to remember. The session will be recorded, so you will receive that in about 24 hours after the session for your own personal reference. We'll also have it posted online sometime next week. Throughout the session, if you think of any questions that you'd like to ask Glenn, feel free to type them into the question box in your control panel for the webinar, and we will address them after the session as best we can. So let me just talk to you guys a little bit about Glenn. He is the Division Training Coordinator for Charlotte Pipe and Foundry Company. He's been there for 31 years, and he coordinates and facilitates training related to safety, health, and worker skill sets. And he's a member of the AFS 10Q committee. Glenn, if you're ready, we'll go ahead and let you get started.
Okay. Thank you, Shannon. Welcome, everyone. Today we'll be sharing with you some of the experiences that our company has been through for the last 14 years that we have been involved with 5S, and some of the successes that we've experienced not only just from a better organized plant, but also vast improvements in our safety and health and environmental areas. What I will share with you today is several slides. Actually, get this to work here. We got some bit of difficulty here getting the slides to. Looks like we got just a little bit of technical difficulty. We'll have to pull back out and restart the presentation here. Okay, there we go. What we'll do is share with you some of the experiences again in our webinar today. We'll try to help you to understand the elements of the 5S, how it impacted our area, and probably the big milestone was just getting started. And also share with you how auditing this program actually motivates the improvements and some of the real benefits. Most of us work in a foundry that's attending the webinar today. Most of us work in the foundry or have been exposed to the foundry for quite some time. And this was a photo taken back in 1999 in one of our workshop areas. And I know the camera flash makes it look very bright in there, but it was very dim lit. And you can see sort of the organization of that. So when we started the 5S program, it was a learning curve for us, and we wanted to see exactly what it would do. So we started a pilot project in just a small area, and after applying some of the first couple of steps to it, we just walked in one day to see if it was really taking shape, and without trying to clean everything up just for a photo. We wanted to see exactly what it looked like. So this is what it was transformed to just over about a 6-week period. A little bit more organization, the lighting, so it really made a difference in there. So I guess probably to understand the photos that we'll share with you, and to have a little bit more appreciation for what 5S is and how it will help elevate the workplace production and quality. Let's just look at what the 5S's are. It starts out with sorting, and I guess this is probably one of the tougher parts of it, is going in and cleaning up your mess. I know for most of us that have been in foundries, we're supposed to be dirty, right? We're supposed to be a smoky environment. We're supposed to be a very dismal, hard-working environment. But time has changed that, and with 5S it can really make a big change. Once you clean your clutter, and you go back and set things in order, you make sure that things stay in place by a program or a process. Standardization, consistent way that you carry the task out, and then the milestone that we have arrived at is the sustainability of keeping things like we had from step one when we sorted out. So we'll just take a closer look at each one of these and understand them a little bit more in depth, along with some before and after photos. So as we begin to go in and remove the clutter, again, when you get into a workplace, some of us, we think about our homes. Things are supposed to be in a drawer or a closet because we might want to use them later on, or we might need that part, or we might need that tool. However, we're spending a lot of our energy each day walking around this clutter to get our work done. So going in and actually removing the clutter is a big, big step. This is an actual photo, and hopefully this doesn't reflect on anyone else's facility, but we actually thought that this was the best system we had. We had a few cubbies that we could store tools and equipment, parts in. You just stepped over the box, around the bucket, and hope that you didn't bump your head on something as you started out. Then as you exit that room, you had these sort of a drill you had to perform in hopping over or in between the hydraulic hoses that were laying down. There was just no system there. So actually we went in and we started going through and sorting, and part of the sorting is actually implementing the red tag log. The red tags are placed on items for which you feel like is no longer needed in that area, that it needs to be placed in another area, or either just trashed. And you can use these red tags as the team from that department or in that section of your foundry or your workplace, and keep a log of everything that you moved out. So in that way, if something is misplaced and you're thinking about, well, for example, the bottom entry here, where did we put all those extra belts and blades? You know, 6 months down the road, you can look back on your red tag log and find out that you return them back to the warehouse area. So these are, it's very important that you utilize a red tag log on the sort as you go through this, if you ever want to implement it, to keep up with it. So tracking was a biggie for us on the front end. As we sorted through the items and displaced the areas or the items in different areas, it was time to reorganize the workspace. And it was amazing to see how much more room that we actually got from just moving all the clutter out of the way. The photos you just saw a moment ago, actually this is the same room in here. You can see that by putting things in order, you actually do develop more workspace. There's organization. There's a lot of safety issues that we've been able to acquire. When you look out onto the workplace in one of our areas, this was just a corner where you can see some fire hose reels, wheel units, several toolboxes. It seemed like every mechanic in that department had to have their own toolbox. toolbox, so it just cluttered that area. As they sorted and set in order, they found out, well, if we just have one toolbox, we can put it on wheels, we can roll it around. It's more advantage to the mechanic if they're out there working on a machine and actually setting the tools for what they need, not those extra tools that you might use once every 3 or 4 years. So by organizing the tools, it was a big advantage for the mechanics as well. Looking down in our warehouse area, and I'm sure that most foundries have electric motors that they keep in stock that are repaired either on-site or off-site, and you have storage for them. Right at the front end of our 5S program, this is the way that we work. We felt like that this is the best we can do here. So if, for instance, you had a motor at the very back of the shelf on the right, say midways up, and it was a large motor that weighed, say, 150, 200 pounds, imagine the time it would take to move all these pallets and the baskets just to get to that one motor, to get it out and put it in service. So after implementing the 5S, we were actually able to go down and actually put some of the larger motors on lower shelves. Put the smaller motors up at the front where we could retrieve them. These were the ones that we used most of, and we were able to tag and label them. So if you did send someone down there for a particular motor of a certain horsepower, certain voltage setting, the phases, you had some type of organization down there. So that's some examples of sorting and setting in order. And then the real fun part here, and probably the more support and commitment from management, is actually putting the shine part to it. Actually, our area where we work on a lot of our vehicles here on site, our forklifts and our Cushman scooters, anything that's mobile on site here is worked in our garage area. You can see just, again, this was our way of working. This was the way a foundry is supposed to look. Unorganized, dirty, nasty. But after applying the 5S's to sort, to set in order, and starting to shine, we actually turned this same area into this here. We were actually able to lighten up, put in new lighting. That's part of your shine. Part of your shine is cleaning the walls, painting the walls, striping off, and again, this area actually today, as we're speaking, looks even more remarkable than what you're seeing on the screen now. So that's part of the shine part. And when I say it's a big commitment from management, there's some cost in relamping the area or painting a large area like this, but that comes from management support to get involved in it. So as you can see already, the sort, the set in order, and the shine part does take, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes a lot of hard work from the workers and also the dedication from management to get this up to this point here. Here's just another photo of our machining area. Again, the dismal look. And each time I look at this photo, I get thinking, if I was a machinist and had to go into work in an area like this each day, would I be motivated? Would I have the initiative to work safe? Can I work safe in this area? You probably can see a lot of safety issues right there. However, whenever the 5S is applied, it makes it more inviting. It lifts the inspiration of the workers up. They're able to communicate a lot better. They're able to see what they're doing as far as doing their tasks each day. The shine part can actually, out there on the floor, how does it affect out there in the production areas? Typically, part of that is where we store things. So if you've got shelving, you've got racks and all, it's real good to actually label those racks. So you can, as you get new workers, as the generations come through, you have new people come into the department, they know exactly where things belong. Just a huge advantage as far as labeling, racking, labeling equipment. That's a big part of our ongoing process. Again, down in our cleaning room, you know, for most foundries, this is the way we're supposed to look. You know, we're not supposed to look nice and fresh and clean. And I know sometimes we get people ask, you know, does it always look this good? And the answer is yes, to an extent that we have a program that they do their weekly maintenance, their weekly cleaning. They have schedules when they do certain tasks out there related to safety and 5S. So this is all the work from the workers in the department. It's just not just one or two people in a department. So it just involves the entire work group out there on the floor. You know, around the melting area, you know, that can be a very dismal area, especially if you're tearing out furnaces or you're whatever the task might be going on throughout the year on a day-to-day basis. Again, when we first started the 5S program, it was, you know, this will never work. It was sort of a mentality that this is the way a foundry is supposed to look. But it doesn't have to look like that. When you've got ideas and when you've got support from management and you've got guys that will really bend their back and roll up their sleeves and get in there and clean up. And again, you know, these are just photos that are on a normal day out there on the floor. We don't try to take photos when we've got it fresh paint or, but that is a part of our process in maintenance, is that lines are painted, the railings are painted at a certain time, as well as the cleaning schedules that have been implemented out there in the departments. So then the fourth part of this 5S is standardization. And again, it's part of what we're talking about. Is, you know, building schedules, keeping things consistent, how procedures are carried out. It can actually start in with a small tool room. You know, for years, this is the way we operated. We had cutting bits, we had tools in there that we used for 20, 25, or 30 years, and with technology and modernization of equipment, it actually drove us that we do not have those particular machines anymore. We've still got the cutting bits, we've still got the tooling for those machines, that the machines have been off-site for years, but we still had a place for them to just occupy space. So after applying the sort, the setting order, the shine, and standardization, we were able to actually cut down this same room, and I'll show you in the next photo, is actually the same room standing at the same location. This was the amount of space that we were able to acquire and just downsize of how much storage we needed just in our tool room. So again, I'll try to go back one slide just in case you missed it. But again, this slide is the before 5S was applied, and then as we work through the 5S's, again, it's the same photo. It's just remarkable the work that these guys did to get rid of that old shelving that was just collecting dust, that nobody cleaned. We had no tracking system exactly how many parts or what parts we had in the tool room, but we were now able to downsize it, and it can be maintained a lot better. I'm sure that we have places where when the guys come in after doing a task, a lot of us don't have wall space. So we just find a corner or we find a back room to pile things in to allow that the next time that we need them, we know exactly where they're at. Unless someone comes in and sees, come along and they need it in their department, they pick it up and walk off with it, or some other tool. So there's not any organization here, but what we've resorted to here, and part of the 5S, is that they will suggest making what is called a shadow board. Putting these shadow boards there where items are located, and label them. So as these tools are taken from the shadow board and taken out on the floor to be used, there's a place to put it back. And, we know the old saying, the place for everything in its place. And that's sort of what the 5S builds around there. Down in a large area where you've got multiple parts, tools, materials that you might store, again, this is just a remarkable improvement here by standardizing the way that we store equipment and tools for departments, and those particular items for that department are in just one area. You don't have to look in one area for a cylinder and then go down 3 aisles and look for hydraulic hose and then look for another pump in another area. Everything that department uses that can't be stored in that department or in a little workshop, actually we have a place that they're stored all in one area. And things are labeled so you can actually find it real quickly. So your retrieval times are cut down marginally. Again, the biggest milestone that you'll hit is the sustainability. Everything that you've done from step one, from day one, when you started sorting through all that clutter, now you're at this sustainability level, and that's where it really comes in to where your programs and your scheduling of cleaning, maybe it's to re-tag, relabel items. If you moved like the cleaning station from one side of the work area to another, you find a place where you can store your rags. That they're just not laid on the machines that could probably cause some type of fire hazard. Any of your cleaners, they have a certain location for them to be stored that's away from a heat or a fire source. Some of our other areas, we mark off on the floor. Even the trash can has a home. I like to use that one. Everybody knows where that trash can belongs, so it's not scooted from one side of the room to the other. We have places, the shadow boards, as you see, for brooms and shovels, so they're not standing in corners, they're not getting run over and getting the handles broken on them. So there are just a lot of benefits when you get to this level here that one could say, there's been a lot of hard work put into this to get to this level. So I know that's been a lot of photos, befores and afters. So sometimes we'll get to the point where, okay, well, who decided to do that? Who decided to do, put the brooms on that wall? Who decided to put the trash can there? Who decided to, do the markings? And you might have questions like that. Well, actually, there's a team that can be developed either within a department or multiple departments. It depends on how you're set up in your facility. And that team will actually be the drivers of this program. As they have little meetings and they go out and talk to guys out on the floor, they actually generate ideas. They get ideas. Now, who is the best person to go to find out about where to place a tool or what could be improved in this area? It's those guys that are out there on the machines, those guys that are out there working hard every day on their machines. Those are the subject matter experts, if you will. So they generate ideas. And you can see here just in a small time span how many ideas were actually generated from all of our departments plant-wide. these ideas, sometimes I mean, we've looked and we've experienced this. Well, maybe this worker A had an idea, worker B had an idea, worker C had an idea. Well, we don't discount any idea, but having all three of them together, sometimes those good ideas become a great idea. And that's what we have experienced here, is putting these ideas together actually helped us to move forward and develop a safer place to work. So how do you get started? Actually, it began here with management kicking this off, saying that, you know, here's the 5S program. You know, we've done some research. We feel like that we can implement it within our facility. We know that success is out there. We just have to work our way to that. So we began with a little pilot project in one area, and we provided the resources, the time for teams to be developed. You know, as we developed those teams, we wanted to get those people, even on our end, we grabbed those people who were just constant naggers and complainers. If they have that much energy, surely to goodness, they could come up with some good ideas. We put them on a team, and they become a very, very valuable team member. So not only did they develop the teams, but you know, we allowed time for these guys to meet, to go over their minutes, to go over ideas, to be that liaison to management about improvements or ideas that we needed to have extra support and from. The team actually, again, they schedule the meetings. They actually do walk-around inspections. They use a form, as you see here, and we actually made up our own form as we got a little bit deeper into the 5S program. But it's something simple that they actually offer, just a basic or generic minutes that you could actually employ with your team. As they go out and do their walk-arounds, here's something that we found very valuable, is you could use something like an inspection sheet here. And as you notice the columns here, as they go out and inspect, the first column there is basically the description. This was the questions they would ask, is they would go through certain areas, and then they would rate them. They would score them in the poor, the mid, or the good. You know, we would give them a score there. Let's take, for instance, the number 9, line item number 9. Is there an overstock of supplies in the department? Okay, that's a good one there. We were just victims of this, because in one area where we may need a replacement part or pieces to a machine or materials that we use in our production line, where we generally would, today we would have maybe 3 or 4 out there, we may have had 25 or 30 sitting out there. It was just occupying space. They would build up. Someone could have hit it. It could have fell on the foot. It could have fell over into another process. So it was a good example that we just had too much of that item out there in the workplace. So these were questions that they would ask the workers out there, and then they would put them a grade. So they were actually grading themselves, their department or their area. As we go through, we actually brought on and developed 5S coordinators, both here at our cast iron facility and also at our other division. And as we developed these positions, it was the 5S coordinator's responsibility to stay in contact with all of these teams as well as management to make sure that we stayed in that sustainability mode. we was able to develop an auditing process to actually, they would go out and the auditors, the 5S coordinator, would actually audit different areas, and it's just another set of eyes that we can look back and track to see if we're staying at that sustainability level. The auditors, they use a sheet such as this. We actually break down the different S's. As you can see here, this one's got sort, set, and order, and there's 4 or 5 questions, observations that they'll take, and again, they'll make a score on it. If you look in the set and order, item 2.1, you see the storage areas and floor spaces. Are they clearly marked? If they're not, then they'll be scored a 1 point for this one, and they'll write their comments. Looking on over to the next parts, the audit form, again, look in the shine, 3.4. When they were audited, they did notice that there needs some cleaning done. And then down in standardized, again, water and air pipes. They were not painted by our code. They weren't identified, so they were just piping on walls. So again, they got a point given to that. So for this audit here, just for example, there was a grand total of 5. And trust me, it's just like, I don't know if anybody plays golf, but in golf, the lower the score, the better you are. And as we started this process here, a score of 5 or a score of 10 really looked good to the departments. It really looked good to management. And we thought, this is a pretty good score, what it could be. However, we learned that we can do even better. So we've got down to the point to, as of 2012, 2013, 14, even a grand total of 1 point really just brings the grimace on the faces of supervisors. They like to have the score of 0. They want to be a 0 score. And this is sort of a chart here you can develop that we've used in the past. So, that score of 5, this might be where you've got your dings, if you will, on shine and standardize. But absolutely looks even worse when you get a score of 18. So that's things that we have tried to work down through our system, is to make sure that we keep very low scores. And those low scores reflect the hard work of those guys out there on the floor. It reflects the support from management, the back end of management, to make sure that we have the resources available for them to work with. So there you have your 5 S's, and as you go through the system, you'll find out that a lot of things that you have done from the sort to the sustain level, a lot of those practices, a lot of those hard works and changes and developments have actually been parallel to safety. And that's where we have arrived back several years ago. We saw this bleeding through, if you will, the vision of a very clean foundry, very organized foundry, is that we saw the accident rate, the near misses, the close calls. We started noticing a trend that they were coming down. We noticed that the elevation of the spirit out there on the floor and just the work group itself actually was coming up, because what we were able to see was they got to experience their ideas coming to life. And when they saw their ideas coming to life, they interjected more ideas. They wanted to see even more improvements. So again, just if you would just try to itemize and list some of the things that it's helped on the safety and health side of the world, especially in our facility, and I'm sure it's probably in other facilities as well, it is just a reduction of a lot of the close calls and near misses that you actually typical workplaces experience through a day-to-day operation. Again, just a couple of the photos just has a potential for improvement. A lot of the teams liked a camera so they could actually go out and take a picture and then come into a controlled environment and actually sit and observe. It's very hard at times to go out there on the floor when you've got the operations going, you've got vehicle traffic, you've got the noise factor. It's just hard to communicate if you're out there with another team member or two or three. So they like to take pictures of areas and then go back and study them. It actually brings to light ideas and able to focus a little bit better about what areas need to be improved on, how can we do it. So the teams work really close together as far as the implementation of the 5S. And so as we call it, the end of the day, or through a period of time that you've been involved with the 5S, it does have some great benefits. It actually is like a facelift, if you will, of your organization under roof. We can clean the outside of buildings. We can clean up the grassy areas. If you've got grassy areas, we can clean up aisles, passageway for vehicles. It really looks good on the outside, but when you pull the roof off and you look down inside the plant, what are you seeing? And that's sort of the ideas that we want to try to drive to our workforce, is that what they do out there goes beyond recognition. It is just remarkable at some of the ideas that these guys have come up with, and such hard work in making sure that we clean our areas and keep them clean. So again, just a continuation of benefits here. Some of the big things that we've experienced here at Charlotte Pipe, and we just applaud all the workers out there. They are very, very proud of what they do. Whenever they come into the workplace, and they see a clean, organized workplace, they can get the job done. It puts the mindset to where they can focus on their safety, their co-worker safety. They can focus better on production issues and quality issues. So those are the things that, again, are part of the benefits that we have experienced here. So just in summary, again, it takes support from management, understanding the 5S principles, understanding that there is success out there. It's just it's not a sprint, as they call it. It is a duration of time that passes by as you go from one stage to the next stage of the 5S. So once you get that support, the management buy-in, then as teams are formed, as the teams have their meetings and they go out and do the other activities, the thing that we very much appreciate, management, and also look forward to, is celebrating that success. So as we reach a certain milestone of days without a lost time accident, days without near misses, keeping our scores low from a plant-wide standpoint, we celebrate the progress that has been made. And the guys really look forward to that. If anyone would like a little more information on how to get started, there are resources out there for you. Probably the easiest thing that most of us could do is hit the Google box and just type in what is 5S, and I'm sure you'll probably come up to this 5S for operators, the 5 pillars of visual workplace. This is a very good book to actually purchase several of and give them to some of your managers, supervisors, some of your workers, to look through and really digest of what this book could actually bring to life in your facility to elevate workplace safety by applying the 5S principles. With that said, any questions?
Thank you, Glenn. Great presentation. Before we start answering questions, and a reminder, if you have a question, type it in the question box. But reminder that this webinar was recorded and will be emailed to everyone here for future reference. So if you want to share it with some other people in your company, feel free to do so. That will be coming to your inboxes, so watch for that. It looks like we did have a question about how would a safety officer convince or justify all the time creating the data forms? So how do you convince ownership that 5S adds value? You mentioned that it's important to get that buy-in, but how do you get that?
Well, it's just like most of your other programs. It takes the educational part or the understanding of what 5S is. If management understands, and in my own opinion, if management understands what 5S is, and then if they can actually develop a pilot project or a pilot program in just a small area and just, off the scale, apply the 5S's in that little small area. And then as you're going through this, you can actually see as a slide or two back, some of the things that it can prevent. Trips, slips, falls, materials collapsing, fire hazards, making sure you have things labeled. If you have those already in place, that's just great, because the 5S will help support it as well. And you can actually invite, from a safety officer standpoint, is to invite management to get involved and just to sit down and explore and research 5S. And I know everybody's time is critical. Is there a golden nugget that will just sell management on it? Absolutely not. It's going to take time to develop a way to get management. And I know each location, each facility is a little bit different, but there I think you have to work that in based off your culture. That's a broad answer.
Thanks, Glenn. Looks like that was it for questions. So I just want to reiterate again to everyone, thank you for attending, and thank you, Glenn, for sharing your experience. And it definitely makes an impact when you can see the before and after pictures, see the benefit of doing the 5S. So again, thanks to all for attending, and thank you, Glenn, for a great presentation.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.